G'day and welcome to the Binge Thinker episode 70-something. My name is Jamil Raymond. It's an absolute pleasure to have you here as always. Guys and gals and in-betweens, if you're on in-betweens, are they, thems, I'd love to know. Just out of curiosity, is that in my demo? Maybe, maybe not. But this week we are almost done with my saga of my tech sales history part. God, I don't even know at this point. We will keep going on. We're getting into the meaty stuff of how to build your freedom. That has been the recurring theme of my week this week, is building freedom and speaking to other people about freedom. It's been an interesting week for me this weekend. I finally finished the 4 POC sessions of teaching globally, of getting my first version of the course out. Well, it's not done, but just through this sprint, this 4-week sprint, maybe 5 weeks probably, of getting the fucking coursework out there, sacrificing weekends, sleep, just pumping this shit out. And whew, feels good, man. It feels fucking good. Just to be through what I don't think it's gonna, I think it's the worst of it for a little bit, because the rest of it is just me building, iterating, but you know, just this immense work of just pouring my fucking brain out and hoping it all comes together well. And you know, the overarching outcome is this coming together very fucking well. I am very proud of the work that I've put out there. Yesterday, after my session, my last training session in the US at 6 a.m., it was funny, man. It's one of the reasons why I'm glad to not be a sales manager or want to lead too many of a group of people. It's just the sheer amount of herding cats you have to do to get a whole team and a whole organization working together as a collective. Because like these proof of concept sessions, you know, I've probably got about 15 engaged people in the process across 3 continents. Very cool. Right. But again, people have lives, people are busy. I'm taking up their weekends. So it's difficult. Some people can't make it. They watch the recordings. But it got to the point where my last session in the US on Sunday night, it started with only 3 people because a few people told me in advance they couldn't make it, which again is fine because I get to record the session anyway. And it got went from 3 people to 2 people to one last person that was holding on to the end of the teaching. And then when I finished and I was like, hey, is there any questions? Any last comments? Hey, thanks a lot for being the last person. Didn't get a response. What I suspect has happened is that they've left their Zoom on to do something else. I'm not too sure. So I was left the last one in my process of the POC session. I thought it was a funny little piece of irony. Some part of it is like a little bit sad, right? To go like, oh, you know, I'm losing people, but I know that I'm gonna lose people, right? That's one of the sad realities and the unfortunate realities of what I do, is what I teach, is that I might have this version of something that I'm trying to do, and it's a vision that I completely believe in and I'm working on. But, you know, people, and you're not going to get 100% of people 100% on board. And that's just the reality of things, right? Is that this really becomes, you know, getting to be an elite performer or getting to the very end of things really is a personal, is a measure of personal character and individual strength. And a lot of people haven't necessarily practiced that. Right? They haven't practiced the power of discipline, the power of consistency. They've seen it, but they don't really understand how much and how important it is to be consistent, to shape the fuck up and keep your word and stay, you know, on path with things to get to wherever you want to go. Like, yeah, I got to the top 1% at 2 different tech companies by playing the game different, by outsmarting, outwitting, outlasting, just like Survivor, right? And, you know, the first time my torch was put out by the tribe, and the second time I just got to walk off the island a fucking winner. I didn't have to eat any bugs. I didn't have to, you know, sleep on the dirt. Didn't have to get burnt by fire. I'm just thinking of like references to Survivor I remember from the early days. That was a great TV show back in the day. It really was pretty good. I don't know how, like, I know there must have been a lot more production behind the scenes to the reality of how they live, but, you know, it was a good TV series overall. here's the embarrassing thing I thought about Survivor while we're on it. I always had this irrational fear, if I ever was to be on Survivor, is that, this is so stupid, but, so like I have to pluck my eyebrows in the middle or else I become like a full-on monobrow, right? So I do have to keep an eye on it and pluck it. And I just imagine, like, if you're a monobrowed person who has to maintain it and you're on an island, imagine just being like, yeah, just after a few weeks of being there, just seeing this thick-ass monobrow coming out and you're like, no, don't look at me, I don't care if I've won. So self-conscious about dumb shit like that. And then, yeah, imagine like being like if you were Tom Hanks, a Survivor, and it was like, you know, it wasn't as manicured and set up as a movie was, and it was some like legitimate dude that was in my situation, and he's come back from a fucking a lone island somewhere, and he's just got this thick, full-on just Bert from Sesame Street fucking monobrow going on, just like zero gaps in between, like the Sydney Harbour Bridge on monobrow. You'd be like, wow, that guy was definitely a survivor. Anyway, dumb shit. But that's what we do here, folks, having a bit of fun. But yes, going back to freedom, it's been a recurring theme. It's, this week, I told you last week that I had put the word out to people to ask, put the call out for people that want help with their careers, with these redundancies, a bit of guidance, how do they move forward in these situations. Put the call out and got some fantastic responses, helped probably about 15 people have reached out properly and asked for some genuine help, which I've been really happy to do. It's been, really nice to, be helpful and, bank good karma, do the law of reciprocity. Something I teach in the course is that good karma will bank up and goodwill will pay off in other ways sometime or some way. So it's not that I'm doing it for that reason, but it is just the ability to know that there's this wonderful freedom in just being able to help people and not. It's just like, I'm entirely my own person now that I work for myself. And that just genuinely helping people for the sake of helping people is part of my business, right? It's part of me. And I don't have to think about a corporate interest of just helping people for the sake of helping them on company time, let's just call it. Because there is no company time. All of my time is company time, which has its ups and downs. But yeah, just the fact that I have the freedom to help people. Not to say I didn't have the freedom to help people before, but just this degree of mental bandwidth and, again, this layer of protectionism that has just been wiped clean by working for myself. It's been fucking great. And then the interesting thing about helping these people out is that a few of them, a good third of them, I would say, they're on their own journeys to freedom. They're on their own journeys to trying to figure out how they create their own business and how to get out of the rat race and do their own thing, which is pretty cool that people are looking to me and going, hey, how are you doing that? Which is something I thought would happen eventually, but I didn't think it'd be happening so soon, right? Is that I thought I'd be focusing on just being a business person and building the Tech Sales Academy stuff instead of giving advice on how to create my own freedom and, work for myself. Because, the only thing that's missing right now between me and being a successful business person is the profit. That's really it. I said this a few times and I'll say it again. Once I get to covering my costs and I've got a comfortable degree of life and I can just do what I want without worrying about if I've got the money to afford it, I'm good. Everything else is upside. And that barrier is fairly low. And yeah, there is just the expanding amount of freedom that I feel in what I need to do is amazing. And then passing that freedom advice to other people is great too, because a lot of the people that have reached out have been in my situation, right? Is that they've just been made redundant. Some of them have been high performers. They've lost trust in the corporation. Everyone senses the changing storms, right? Everyone can sense that 2024 and onwards, these years are going to get fucking wild, folks. Going to get real wild, I think. And these next few years are going to be crazy. And people who have unfortunately been in these positions now could very much be in very fortunate positions in a couple of years' time if they follow the advice that I've given them. Right? I've been completely open source about how I've built my business, the idea generation, building the deck of IP that you need. Right? If you're going to sell yourself for a high value, what is your high value content? What is that, $100,000 consulting fee or whatever it is, that $1 million business that you're going to build yourself upon? What is the meat of that business? What is that unique value that you can bring that nobody else can provide? You need to understand that before you take a leap. And I understood what I was doing before I took a leap. Probably took a leap a little bit early, maybe not. I'll find out in a few weeks once I release the course. But yeah, you have to plan this shit out. And I think more and more people are really waking the fuck up, man. And a lot of people are waking up out of necessity more than anything else, I'd say. There's this reference, I may have talked about this once, but I'll say it again because I've been thinking about it a lot the last couple of weeks. Is that I can't remember if it was Super Mario Brothers, one of the Mario games, is that once you walk, it was definitely, I think it's Super Mario, right? On the SNES. But basically when you start the level and you start moving as Mario or Luigi, whatever your flavor is, the moment you start moving, the game shifts, as in you're on the platforms, right, and you're jumping along, but the game shifts so you can't go backwards. And if you go to the left wall of the game, right, on the screen, it's blocked and it's pushing forward. And if you were to stay on that back wall and it just kept pushing you, eventually, if there was a hole in the ground, it would push you into that and you would be dead, right? And that's the end of that life for you. And that's essentially what is happening now in society, particularly with the existential threats that we've got like AI and people worrying about how they generate income and show value of themselves in humanity, because it is getting crazy scary out there. Or like what is coming is scary for people who do not have value, right? Is that, yeah, it's scary to think that the reality of what AI is doing or is going to do is that it's just going to put so many people out of work, the next generations of people out of work, because again, robots will be doing menial tasks. And there are so many people that are just getting by on the menial and they're not really contributing much and they are a pure consumer. And I would, hope that none of you behind on the other side of this screen and microphone resonate with that too much. But we all are in some ways, right? I've definitely been that person, all of a consumer, none of a creator. And I'm switching that up now and I'm aiming to create more than I consume. But yeah, as that wall of what value are you? Well, how can you add value to somebody else in a way that is more practical and in a way that AI cannot do? How can you be smarter in ways that logical smartness is beating you at, right? So if you do not understand what that is, and you don't have skills that cannot be replaced by AI, or at least entirely replaced by AI, you're in deep shit in the next 10, 15, 20 years. Because it's not necessarily that your job will be replaced by someone with AI, as opposed to AI itself. Is that you'll be able to manage way more tasks through one individual through a broad range of tools, of logical and automation-based tools, than just if you had manual processes day in, day out, right? And that's what's going to happen, is that the need for people to do things is going to drastically decrease. And then when it becomes there'll be plenty of restructures. I can fucking just, in the next 5 to 10 years, there is going to be a mountain of corporate restructuring as organizations restructure their businesses to cut 20, 30, 40% of their labor force out under the guise of new direction in the business, blah, blah, blah. And then they'll just replace those people with AI. Right? And the guys of corporations, what they love to do when they turn over staff, right? I've seen this happen. It happened to me with Telstra. They turn over, instead of, when you restructure a business, right, and you turn over the entire business, usually you are wiping away the slate of better pay, better conditions, right? I know that people that came before me inside Telstra were on way better pay packets, and I was one of the lowest paid people in my team. And I've always heard about people who were getting paid way more to the jobs that were offered, 5, 10, 15 years ago during the early glory days of tech businesses, when they were just rolling in dough. And now they're becoming they have to be tighter because, well, not as tight, but tighter, because people are jumping on and then they don't know how to manage their workforce properly. But, the universe is always trying to get more for less, right? That is a core machine inside the universe, is to get more for less. Energy, right? Energy is the first dimension of the universe. If you were to think of energy like a blank canvas, the blank canvas is the potentiality of anything occurring within it. But when that energy is consumed within the universe, it has a degree of efficiency to it. It wants to maximize its output for the minimal input. So then everything that is made of energy, us included, has that natural proclivity towards efficiency. We always want more for less. And then, so that cycle of more for less, more for less, more for less is these machines, these processes, these corporations, us as people, trying to get more for less. And if you are part of the inefficient area of the business or an inefficient part of the economy of society, you get cast away. And that is what's going to happen, is that there's going to be a lot of castaway in society, in business, because there's something that's more efficient that's come along. That in many ways, AI already is more intellectually superior to a good portion of the population. It could be up to half at this point. And if it's not yet, it will be in the next 5 years. And that's just in raw logic and computational power and what it can actually do as far as outcomes. It can already beat us at precision, right? It is already smarter than us at precision. It is not necessarily smarter at us in compute. And there is, how do I put this? It is in raw computing power, but that's a challenge. How do I put this? It's sort of like, it doesn't know how to fabricate things and sort of connect the intellectual and creative the way that we can necessarily. It's getting there though. That stuff on ChatGPTs and OpenAI Sora, pretty cool stuff, right? If you watched the Zuck on what's his name's podcast, what's his name? Really cool Russian guy, Lex Friedman. So Lex and Mark Zuckerberg had a conversation in the metaverse using the technology, and it looked fucking cool, right? It does look pretty neat. Now, if you combine all of those things which you will be in like a decade, right, is that you might be able to combine the computational power of what metaverse has and visualize holograms and stuff like that, combined with the intelligence of ChatGPT and integrate that together through an API, right, and graphically induce thoughts and processes. It's going to get weird out there. Like, yeah, synthesizing humanity or pretty close to it is not that far away. And if those humans are efficient and they're emotionless, right? One of the main reasons why AI is going to beat people is because they are not an emotional liability, right? Something I teach a lot in the course is about emotions, and that emotions, I really have to do this on a podcast. I will in a couple of weeks. Emotions are energy, right? Thanks, a very potent lesson thanks to the great Dr. Joe Dispenza, fantastic neuroscientist and meditation research expert. Great stuff, right? Energy and emotions. Emotions are energy in motion. And emotions are not rational things. They are energy. They are, they're dynamic. Rationality is static. It is grounded. It is linear. Emotions are dynamic, right? Irregular. And one of the reasons why they talk about in behavioral economics, why is the market irrational? Because people are irrational, right? The economy is an irrational entity because people are irrational, because they do a lot with their emotions more than they do with their rationality. We love to think that we are rational, logical people, but most of the things that govern your life and the challenges and the blocks within your own life are emotional blocks of energy within yourself. And those blocks of energy are trauma. They are things that you tell yourself that are not true. They are narratives that you formulated in your head in childhood about the world around you that you weren't, because you were insecure at the time, right? This is the work that I've been undoing for the last 4 years, is this sort of shit. So AI is not irrational. It doesn't need to take a day off because its dog died. It doesn't need to be motivated and, have pizza Fridays or casual clothes Fridays to liven up company morale. It just does the fucking job over and over again, right? It just does the thing. And now that it can do many things and create judgments and learn how to do the thing better, which is what a lot of people in life just simply do not do, right? There are so many fucking people out there that just bump into the same wall in their lives over and over again. We are all victim to it, myself included, right? We are all there's so little active learning that goes on in society when certain people that's why they're their own fault, is that they are not learning, they're not improving. They're just okay to be with things as they are, and they just put up with the suck that exists in their lives when they don't realize that they have so much power and control over it just by shifting their perspective. And if you do not have that degree, that human sense of learning and self-optimization and self-awareness to improve and get better, if you lack that fundamental human skill and one of those dipshits that are just doing their fucking vicious, virtuous cycles over and over again, you will be one of the victims of AI. You will be a victim to that. You will be the prey of AI, right? Now, thankfully, the good people that listen to this podcast, they're switched on. They get the vibe. The vibe is the tribe, right? That's what I've been saying a lot recently as well with people that want to be part of what I'm doing here, is that the good people of this podcast are getting better every day, right? They have the fucking balls, the nous. They won't be outsmarted by AI. If they're smarter, which they are, these good people of this podcast, they'll be out there learning, adapting, right? I tell people in my course, AI will not replace salespeople, because sales done right is a human thing. It is a human element. I think I should, hang on, let me just check one thing. There's a book called To Sell Is To Be Human, literally, I think. I'm going to Google that right now. I think it's called by Daniel Pink. To Sell is to be human. And I think it literally is about the humanity of selling. I did not type that right. Daniel Pink, to sell is human. There we go. Cool. I might have to re-look into that book since it seems very topical about the human skills that are required to be a great people seller, which is what I teach. Is that, yes, human skills. If you know how to leverage emotions, emotional intelligence, empathy, this being able to leverage emotional energy, sense it in people, right? That's what empaths are very good at. The empath within me, I'm very empathetic to people emotionally. That's a sense. That's our sixth sense. It's called exteroception, not interoception. There's interoception, which is sensing your internal state, your emotional state, your hunger, your thirst, when you feel sad, when you feel happy inside. When you have that sense inside you, that's called interoception. When you sense the emotional quality of others and you sense that that person is feeling sad or something doesn't feel quite right, that's called exteroception. Right? That's us perceiving the emotional quality and the emotional energy and their vibe that is emanating from them, whether they are conscious of it or not. Right? So being able to leverage this sixth sense, which we do in some ways, but we don't actively use it. You don't train it like a muscle. You don't train the sense. Right? You just know that you've got it to agree, and you'll lean into it when you feel like someone's bullshitting you, for example. The bullshit detector that you have in other people, that's exteroception in a nutshell, right? When you can sense that someone's lying to you, or you can sense that subtle shift in energy that something's not quite right about them, or they're hiding something, or they're not really giving you the full truth. That inner knowing, that's your sense. It feels intuitive, but it is kind of intuitive, but it's also an actual sense that we have. But we haven't put a particular organ to it, right? It's not like it's an eyeball which sees things or an ear that hears things. But that vibrational sense, that sense of emotional quality and tone in others, that could be the heart, that could be the soul. It could be the chakra, right? It could be the 7 chakras in your body, in the 8th one above your brain that connects to the universe, that is able to sense that. But that is not to say that it is not true. It is legitimate, ladies and gentlemen, because we all feel it. And I think what I found when it comes to that exteroception and the vibe, right? The vibe is real. That's what I'm trying to say as well. Secret key to the universe, the vibe is real, right? That vibe, when you go into a room and you can sense that it's dead in here, or you go to a comedy show and everyone fucking hates it and you can sense it in the air. That is the collective energy saying yes or no. When you're killing, right? When you go to a concert and everyone's fucking vibing and you can feel it's a good time. That is the vibe. That is the collective of the energy in the room, in the space, right? That the vibe is real and we sense that. We just aren't necessarily conscious of it because we haven't been taught that it's a sense, or there is, again, there's no organ that correlates to it. But if you can hone in that skill and be able and find a career or find a skill set that utilizes that, where you can use your emotional intelligence to solve people's problems, that is one of the most pertinent ways to become bulletproof and be safe in the AI world. Right, is in the world where we're becoming increasingly digitized, our humanity is more valuable than ever. Right, is that sure, it's great to have these modern conveniences and being digitally connected and things being done easier for us and things are being done without thinking. But the opposite of that, the irony of that, is that we want to be more involved in the feeling, in the emotional quality, in the organic, right? And finding a nice balance of that, of both, is what I think the modern struggle, one of the modern conundrum is right now, is that there's going to be a broader movement towards de-digitization and having more analog connections, so to speak. So yeah, we're going to enter this era soon, over the next 5 years or so, maybe 5+ years of further digitization of the personal world, but it's going to create more demand for the organic experience. And it's going to be interesting to see that happen. Another thing that I had noticed is that with the Gen Zs, in particular younger generations, they're increasingly spiritual, which is a good thing, but a lot of it could just be bypassing. It could be the zeitgeist. There's a lot of people talking about curation of the vibe. And I think why that is that the good thing about the way that the younger generations have been raised is that there is this degree of mental health, of looking after yourself, a lot more awareness of the collective trauma of society. And because of the way that, I don't know if it was the way that people are raised, but I think just there is this increasing sensitivity. And I do believe that because of particularly the post-pandemic or the pandemic focus on mental health, generationally we've become collectively more aware of our own mental well-being and our own state of minds. And one of the things that I've sort of found a link to is that one of the reasons why I am very empathetic towards people and have this very good sense of, bullshit detector, and I'm very good with my exteroception, is because that came from my traumatic childhood. Is that came from me being hyper vigilant and emotionally insecure. So I was constantly feeling people out to see if they were a threat or not. Because that was a survival mechanism for my own emotional well-being growing up. So I wonder if I've sort of traced that back to why I've honed that skill set, I wonder if it's similar in other people that have been in similar situations. Because, Gen Zs, and particularly the queers, are all about their trauma and, about being empathetic, and everyone's got ADHD and ADD. And I'm not judging them, but, it seems to just almost be a stereotype at this point. I know that I've got probably forms of that, and sure, right? But they seem to make it like ADD, but make it cute, right? Like, oh my God, I have mental health problems too. I don't know. No, it's an interesting line to juggle here. But I just do wonder if that's the reason why, as a collective, people are becoming more empathetic and more self-aware, because we're all really waking up to how fucked our development was thanks to society, postmodern society, which I always seem to put back to like Reaganism in the 80s, right? I always seem to think that the 80s are kind of what's responsible for this and Reaganism. And when the military-industrial complex sort of really came to the forefront and we became this consumption-heavy society, right? I could be wrong about that. That's just where my mind goes. So, I just wonder if... I do believe that generationally we are more aware of the collective traumas and how inefficient or how impractical the modern life and modern society is to our soft human well-being. Right? I'm not saying we're soft as people, but we are definitely much more sensitive than we've let on. And I think as we have increasingly become, we live in fantastic, safe, secure times, societally, compared to living in the fucking jungle, particularly in the Western world, most of our suffering comes from this perception of fear of what's around us, is that constantly our minds and our egos are perpetually looking for fear and the next problem. And even when things are going great, we still have to train ourselves away from thinking, what's the fucking wrong thing that's going to happen next? Right? I certainly have had to do that myself, and then found a lot of happiness in realizing that this is just have to accept and be happy in the present. And yeah, the more control that I get over my own life and my own outcomes, and the more that I'm able to self-regulate the more of my own emotions, the more powerful I become. So I'm wondering, is this sensitivity, this downward spiral, a great downswing to collectively upswing back, forward, and greater to something that's more organic, something that's more fruitful, and something that's more humanity-centric, a little bit more integrated, as we realize that there is actually very fucking little to be genuinely afraid about in the world if, as a collective, we understood that, right? There seems to be another transcendental shift between the old world and the new world. And the new world is, what I'm aiming for at least, an abundant collective of aiming higher, putting good energy out, trying to contribute some light towards the world. But as we wait for these fucking boomers, and it seems like some of the X's to die off and take their mindsets away from them, we're going to have this arm wrestle of, ideology. Bit of a tangent there, but hey, a classic binge thinker tangent. I don't even know if most of that made sense. Hopefully it did. At the very least, sounded interesting, right? But yes, to go all the way back to building freedom. People want to get the fuck out, man. I think people are more and more are sensing that. And to tie this together a little bit, that deep existential dread of a collective that we're finding, that's using your interoception and you being attuned to these deep societal knowings, right? I'm seeing an increasing amount of powerful people, rich people, creating off-grid alternatives because they know that society's going to fucking tear apart soon. And I can sense it as well. That's building something off-grid, just away from people, away from the societal shitstorm that might happen in the next decade. It's certainly in my line of sight as well, which is kind of crazy and sad, is that even if there wasn't a gigantic crashing of society and a gigantic crunch, it still would just be nice to be disconnected from all of the technology all the time that I'm surrounded by and all the devices. And just be nice to get, reconnect to nature. But there's definitely an element of survivalism in there. For sure. Just, people having bug out bunkers and just options, second options. Strange times. Anyway, geez, gone about 30, almost 40 minutes on this shit. But fun, right? This is the binge thinker, baby. This is what we're talking about. We're just talking out some crazy, wild shit. Where was I where were we up to? Last week, I just talked to you about my last day at Telstra. I'm cast off into the woods. I've just given birth to the concept of Tech Sales Academy under the guise of Impact Sales Academy. Pretty cool stuff. So now we enter a period of my life that I call the woods. And this is me desperately trying to figure out a way not to rejoin a corporation, trying to build businesses to build my own freedom so I never have to work for another corporation again. And it was a very challenging time. I was sure that I wanted to figure out, a way. I was so determined. I was probably unaware of how deeply traumatized I was back then by the whole redundancy piece, because a lot of the drive did come from anxiety as opposed to a level of clarity that I create from now, which is very nice. Where it was an anxious scramble and my anxiety made me make rash decisions. some of which I'm still paying the consequence of now, like owning 1-800-comedy. Fucking hell, I still got that. I still own that phone number, and I got to get rid of it sometime soon, or I just hold on to it and just pay the contract out. I don't know. It's fucking funny though. I really got to use it now that that's one of the things as well. Now that I'm not done yet with the course. I started to go back to the course and creating it. I've still got a few more weeks, and then I've still got plenty of iterations to do on it, right? But I just can't wait to do some fun, dumb marketing shit. Like create funny ads and just do dumb shit. Like, for example, I want to make an advice line for 1-800-comedy. So, listeners, if you call 1-800-comedy, what is that phone number? 1-800 266 hang on, COM. Yeah, so 1-800 266 339. There it is, 1-800 266 339. In Australia, please call me from Australia. It'll answer. It'll go directly to my mobile and you can contact me that way. So stupid. But I wanted to make that into an advice segment and just put that out there. So hilarious, right? It's like just sort of make do with it and just, fuck it. It's a bit of fun, right? Really stupid stuff. Yeah, man, I just can't wait to have a finished product. I'm just like, I don't have to worry about, as long as it's fucking, if we're just happy with it, with what it is for like 3 to 6 months, and just be happy with what it is, which I will be in a couple of months, don't get me wrong, to give me the space to do dumb shit. Oh, I just want to get to the dumb shit marketing phase of my business so I can just have a lot of fun creating shit and, having a heap of fun for the brand. Yes, fun. Fun and freedom, folks. That's the recurring theme of my life. Anyway, let's go to the non-fun and the not free part of my life where I'm mentally trapped in the woods. Yeah, so determined to build my own thing. I've got cash to survive. I'm burning through my cash. And I feel like I'm burning through my cash a little bit right now, to be quite honest. I've got to wait for more coins to come in. I'm going to sell my car. Not that nothing's wrong, as in I'm doing a desperation. I was going to sell my car anyway. But, burning through cash. Didn't understand how a digital business worked. Once I had the idea of building Tech Sales Academy, I invested in Thought Leaders, which is a company that teaches you how to build your own business practice. Great organization, probably a little bit outdated in the way that they market things because they're mostly older people that do this stuff. And built my original IP deck of intellectual property. Built that original IP deck. And that was the start of it. Was chasing two rabbits, building Aussie Comedy Network and the Thought Leader stuff, so Impact Sales Academy at the same time. Bad idea. So I would be anxiously trying to build both. Didn't really have a way forward with either. I knew that I was more focused on ACN and Thought Leaders as a bit of a side thing, but just anxiously determined to not work for another corporation, just work myself into the ground, work myself as an anxious mess into the ground. I remember a very low point that I had journaled down, just going, this is too much. I've got to focus on one thing. And that ended up being Aussie Comedy Network. So, during that time, every day, I would be researching ideas, watching people's content on, this is during the pandemic. So this is the rise of TikTok, the meteoric rise of TikTok. People that I know that are getting millions of views and hundreds of thousands of followers and all that sort of stuff. There was like this golden age of growing reach and getting all these followers, but that's because there was nothing else to do at the time. Even now, we are really starting to see the repercussions of that strange period economically during the pandemic, is that a lot of the downswing that we're seeing is the upswing of COVID and the economic stimulus around that. So those golden times, you wanted to get in on social media and build something on there. And I didn't know how to do that. I did know how to do it, but I was just still way too afraid. I was putting this podcast out and putting clips of it, but I was so anxious with every clip that I would put out. And it was so judgmental about it. Was I even doing the podcast back then? No. During the Woods period. No, it's just over 2 years now that I've started doing this pod and, becoming immensely more comfortable with myself. I wasn't comfortable enough to be in front of a camera back then. Yeah, it was scary. Now I barely give a shit. And that's the beautiful power of, just putting yourself out there and jumping the fuck off and not being afraid. But yes, in the building of this Tech Sales Academy, it's really interesting. Where was I going to go with this? I was talking about ACN, but then just the building of it. Where was I going with this? I'm not high. I just am a little bit tired. I've had my first day off in 5 weeks today, since I started. And today was not even a day off because I had errands to do and life to live, and I still had a meeting today about someone. That's what sort of had this concept of freedom in my head. I'm just a little bit tired. I did double smoke yesterday just to celebrate, which is, not necessarily the best idea, but who gives a fuck? That's worth it. A little bit of fun. Didn't hurt anyone. Kind of hurts me today. Doesn't hurt, I'd say. Again, rambling. But I guess, it's interesting to know that I was building this out and it really started to, with the thought leader stuff, that's where I actually learned, first of all, the hierarchy of commitment, which I've been teaching in the course as well. Very cool stuff. Shout out to Matt Church. Love that hierarchy of commitment. Love it. But it was around this time, I think about 4 or 5 months of writing, probably about 4 months of writing the first version of Tech Sales Academy. I parked it because I just had so much more passion for ACN at the time. And, passion is free energy. So I went with where the heart took me and I let it be. But then I was running out of cash, right? So let's say this was about January 2 years ago now, running out of cash, and then had to get a job. Found this job at Cisco through a good friend of mine, Chalky, and went through the process. And for me, I was all about ACN at that time. I built a backlog of content. I had gotten friends on board to help build the business with me. I had a collective of about 30 or 40 creators, about 40 something creators, I think, that I could take their content from. And then, it felt like I was building something that was pretty fun. And it was fun. It was a learning curve. It was great to build a digital product, build a digital brand. Got it to like 10,000 plus followers on TikTok, a couple of thousand on Instagram. Got 2 million views on one clip. It was from the guys Luke Heggie and etc. About a bottler, which is a bunch of sketches. And it was really fun to do something unique and try and put my dent in the Melbourne comedy scene, the Australian comedy scene. Was not worth it. The Australian comedy scene is in a shambles, and it's honestly just not worth saving. If I was to be fucking real about it, it is just not worth saving. You're just better off, making your own way in it, creating content for you, doing gigs, building your own shit, and just fuck everyone else off. The Australian comedy scene is pretty toxic, especially at the lower levels, because everyone's just anxious weirdos. They're all just anxious weirdos that are trying to make a living for themselves, don't know how, have very few human skills besides them having the ability to be funny. Most of the open mic scene is full of fucking deadbeats. They're really, really awkward deadbeats, perennial outsiders. I was one of them too. Not saying it. Not saying anything wrong with that. But just perennial deadbeat people that wouldn't know how to build a business or create a genuine partnership or actually have those internal skills that we talked about to see things through, see things all the way. Your meta skills, your personal skills of your self-determination, your discipline, self-regulation, these will take you further than anything in this universe, anything in this world, for sure. I've come to realize that now, is that success is not determined by your hard skills. It is determined by your personal and inner skills, self-determination, discipline, self-management of time, being a good person, right? That takes you anywhere. Takes you anywhere at this point. And again, to probably come full circle, I have already identified people that I know will succeed in my POC cohort, my proof of concept cohort. I can already identify the winners just by the way they show up, right? The ones that show up, the ones that ask questions, that give feedback, these are the people that are invested the most. They have the most to gain, sure, don't get me wrong, but they understand that and they invest themselves into it. And by doing that, that's enough for me. That's that, not an emotional quality, but it's that something. It's that juice, it's that mojo. Then the nous, when they've got it and I can sense it in them, it doesn't matter what they'll do. It doesn't matter what they do, I know they'll get far, right? And yeah, that quality, the quality of your inner being, that is going to fucking take you places more than anything else. And that's what I've probably been cultivating in myself, is that nous, knowing that I have it and then working on it. And it takes time, it takes years, and I'm still working on it. But definitely feel like I'm flowing in it right now. Is that people, a lot of the motivation stuff that I used to read doesn't really ring to me anymore, right? Because I'm doing the fucking work. I'm doing, a lot of the people a lot of the motivation stuff that's out there is to help people to push them off the first step of their lives, to go from 0 to 1. I'm way past 0 to 1. I'm at 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Is that, for example, the great Dan Coe, he talks about, you just need 1 hour of focus per day and you can build your freedom. And I'm like, motherfucker, I'm on 6 to 7 hours of focus right now. I'm on 7 hours of focus for the last 5 weeks, right? You don't need to fucking tell me to get this shit done. I'm doing it. It's just that I have to keep doing the thing until I get to the success, right? That's how I genuinely feel right now, is that any minute now, I just got to keep going and keep pushing. I feel like I'm 1 to 2 months away. 1 to 2 months away from really fucking striking gold here. Really fucking striking gold. And fuck, it's cool, man. That was a beautiful thing that happened to me yesterday. I mean, fuck, what are we? Almost at an hour and I haven't really hit. I mean, fuck, we're just talking. We're just fucking talking shit at this point, right? And that's what this podcast is anyway. I don't expect you to really learn anything. I expect you to have fun and, take wisdoms of nuggets. Plenty of nuggets in this one. One of these moments that I had yesterday where it's just like the moment I was past the finish line in my own head, I'm just like, I've done it. Work's done, right? The hard part is over. And it's sort of like, sometimes you climb it, you go hiking and you're like, during the hike, you're exhausted. This sucks. Oh my God, I'm dragging my fucking feet. And then you get there and you hit the top of the mountain, you see the beautiful view and it feels good. And you're like, you know what? I could hike a little more. I could go a little bit longer. I could keep doing this, right? This was fun. Now that I understand the level of difficulty, I know that's the expectation. It's really the unknown of something that gets us more than anything else, right? The first time, if you were to hike the same mountain twice, the first time it would suck. The second time it would get easier because you know what to expect. That underlying hum of unknown and anxiety, that's what'll fuck you up. when it comes in anything, right? Once you know and you just have to do the thing and you get used to the thing, then things become easy because your brain's not using extra brain power to adapt and check for danger, right? And that's what I sort of got to yesterday. I was like, you know what? Fuck it. No days off, bitch. Let's keep going. Let's fucking work. And realistically, I haven't really had a day off. I have been doing errands today. I've been pretty relaxed. But that's what this fucking process of building something and something that's mine and putting these unique things that I have to share about the world on, not paper, but yes, on paper in a way, right? Documenting it, sharing it with people, getting them to recognize and vibe along with it. It's empowering as fuck, man. It feels good. It feels fucking sick that I know that I'm tapping in to the collective and I'm changing people at scale. I can be changing people's lives and helping them at scale now. That's, right? That's me tapping and realigning further into that fucking beautiful flow of source in the universe, right? This is me plugging the fuck in and going, yeah, baby, we are on full-on creator mode now. And I'm going to finish on this idea that I had yesterday. So yeah, I celebrated yesterday. I've got a variety of different weeds at my disposal, and when I want to have a bit of fun, a little bit, get a bit fruity, treat myself, I will use an indica because it makes me go into my body a little bit more as opposed to more of a head high. And you feel different, and it's a bit nice. It's just like a nice body sensation because I've been spending most of my day in my fucking head, constantly thinking all the time, right? So it's good to be in the body again. And this idea sort of came to me is that one of the recurring themes, we talked about this in the podcast last year, there's the 4 masculine archetypes in people. There's the king, the warrior, the magician, and the lover. And if you remember that episode, shout out to you. What I am is a magician of the 4 main archetypes. My primary archetype is the magician, who understands the deep inner knowings of the world. And technology is part of that, is that you are able to, create a world and create solutions and create cool things. And I'm doing that with the magic of technology, the miracle that is modern technology. So when it comes to this powerful creating, right, so I've called myself the wizard on this a few times, and I definitely do believe I have some sort of magic power, but I sort of came to realize that magical power yesterday, right, and sort of do this along with me as a bit of an example. But I came to realize that we talk about the power of creation and how you create something is, it's this magical act of creation and doing something cool. But creativity is literally just the tapping into the infinite wisdom or tapping into your creative emotional source and then transmuting that into the outside world through a medium of some sort, whether that be art, be music, it could be tech, right? And for me, I've come to realize that for me, the act of me typing on a keyboard, on Canva, creating my slides, writing out my intellectual property, writing newsletters, but writing, right? Writing is my creative. I'm a wordsmith. That sounded really wanky in my own head for a second when I said wordsmith. But yes, that's what I am, right? I'm fantastic with words, with language. And language is a spells. Literally, it says spelling. It is a spell because that language programs, right? A language is a spells because spells make things happen. And language programs us. When we talk to ourselves in our own head, we call ourselves fucking idiots all the time. We are programming ourselves to be fucking idiots. But when you have if you've good self-esteem and a good inner critic that's not too harsh on yourself, you're constantly putting yourself into a more positive world because your language inside you is more positive. Right? So that's just a good way to think about how language is like spelling and constructing the universe. So when I am there pouring my mind out, and I'm just typing on the keyboard, right? If you just take the action of typing, right? Just imaginary type in front of you. Or if you're typing right now, just look at the way you're typing. And it's just this array of your fingers moving around, right? And you look at that. But then if you were to lift your hands as if the keyboard was on a wall that's in front of you, right, and you're still doing the same wiggly, fingery movements, just like this, right? It's kind of like if you were a magician making spells, right? If you were doing some fucking Harry Potter shit like that. Oh, that Voldemort. Oh. Why is my dark mark flaring up? Just kidding. But yes, you know, you're doing this weird fingerly woo sort of stuff, right? And in the action of typing, you are literally transmuting your inner knowledge and your inner wisdom into a digital and visual medium to communicate that and pass that magic on to somebody else through education, through a slide deck for me. I've just been making slide decks all day, every day. And so that for me is that, it just is that little power of the magic of creation, right? Is that action there is like, yes, this is me weaving my magic, is writing and creating a new world for people. Because that's what I'm trying to do for people, is to give them and pass on this internal wisdom into a medium they can digest and turn into their own wisdom and transform their lives for the better. So that's just, you know, as a creator, yeah, the energy that we have within ourselves, and when we connect to that source, we display that in the mediums around us, whether it be music, be art, be, you know, now it's scientific, technological, educational, right? We are using these digital mediums and these mediums of light. Most of our art forms that we exist in are light or sound, and they're all just waves, right? Waves of energy. Right? If you're a musician, you know that you're playing with a bunch of frequencies. If you're an artist, you are playing with color, which is, again, a refraction of different frequencies of light, electromagnetic frequencies that resonate from our eyeballs or bounce off our eyeballs. I'm not going to go to the science of it. So everything is energy. Everything is waves. And when you are transmuting your brain waves, your thoughts, your emotions, you pass those waves in through your hands, and through the act of creating art, you know, music, comedy, painting, whatever it may be, that action itself, that is you as the magical creator, as the wizard, as the technologist in the modern world. And it feels pretty cool to, like, you know, to recognize that small element of the universe that could be everything, right? It could be huge to recognize that. And it felt huge in that moment to me, to just be like, oh shit, this is where I become the creator. This is where I become that empowered individual to create my own shit, right? Is that it's literally in this, I'm going woo with my fingers. And then what I was doing to be successful my entire, you know, my last 10 years was I was doing my woo-woo magic of typing on a keyboard for, you know, 6 to 8 hours a day and talking to customers, right? And I was able to create magic through that medium. But then if I'm just now shifting my world to do that same level of magic and quality, and instead of that being contained within the four walls of a corporation and them getting the value and my customers getting the value, but that's still a contained environment, if I was to do this magic hand weaving stuff and then just shift it a little bit to the right, down the barrel of a camera to, and through the, you know, down the barrel of the internet to social media and to build a website, my little magical woo hands would return me a lot more immense value in return to myself instead of the corporation taking it, right? Is that if I, you know, I'm just weaving spells in front of a keyboard every day for the last 10 years to make some money from Cisco and Telstra, but then I'm just going to shift a little bit to the right and point my hands and fingers and my woo-woo magic at social media and websites and the world, and do it to you, dear listener, through this medium of, you know, audio and video. If you're watching this on YouTube, me doing my little woo hands, which I still am if you're watching, woo. That's the magic of the world, right? Is that you are like a fucking sorcerer, like a goddamn wizard, like a magician, weaving your magic of creation, making what you imagined in your inner eye, in your mind, in your imagination, and transmuting that into reality through your actions and your hands and your thoughts and your being. And that's fucking cool, man. right? The more you practice that, that's the fundamental, that understanding. Once you get that fundamental understanding, you got to go out there and hone your fucking craft and hone your magic, right? And really get some wizard shit going, whatever that might be for you, business or, technology, art, music, whatever it is. But maybe that's the takeaway. Maybe we went a long way around, which was, a conversation. Didn't really talk much about my tech sales history. Didn't really matter too much. I will talk about it again next week to a degree because the Cisco years are very important, which is what we're talking about now, to how I got to Tech Sales Academy. But hey, a nice little fucking conversation, right? I thought we had some fun, and I've just given you one of the secret keys to the universe. Hopefully, I think I'm right about that. That's what I'm banking on. And check back in a few months when I've got a few more figures under the belt and a few more dollars and cents, right? We'll see. But that's it for this week, folks. We've hit the hour. We're having a bit of fun, right? We're just talking a bit of shit. If you love what I'm doing here, share with a friend. Please like, comment, subscribe on the YouTubes. Give us a rating on the pod stuff. TechSales.Academy. Whoo! Check that out. Pre-sale on now. Get in, motherfuckers. Get in. 8 hours of video content, 55 lessons. Fuck, it's gonna be good. Oh, March 14th. It's coming out March 14th, bitch. Get on it. Check out my newsletter, The 1% Club. Having a lot of fun writing shit out. Again, magical creations, baby. Magical creations. That's it for this week, folks. Have a good one. Love yous all. Bye.